My name is Stephen Crane. If you've been following my video series, this is actually the fifth and final level in my campaign for Fight the Dragon. To start out the video, I'd like to apologize. My audio recording equipment's a bit off today. I'm aware that there's some issues. It's some older equipment, so I'd just like to apologize for that right off the gate. But anyways, let's get back to the level. So this is a continuation. After making it through the cave in the fourth level, you come out here to the cave exit, and then this is where you begin this level. This level hints and touches on a lot of what has happened as well as to what will happen in the next supposed campaign if I continue that. Where it kind of touches on stuff that's already gone on, makes reference to some of the accomplishments that the player has already made in the previous levels leading up to this point, as well as kind of hinting at where the direction of the next campaign would go if it's continued. So right off the bat, I have a soldier that kind of recognizes that you just came out of the cave, and it's like, oh, wow, you're the one that's taking care of these orcs. That's pretty impressive. You should go to the city and try out the dungeon. If you go over here, it's actually the opposite side of the barricade that was put up in the second level during the orc attack. And the city guards are actually kind of preventing the townspeople and travelers from going through until they've confirmed that the orc encampment has been taken out. So you can actually go over here. It's also a way for the player to store up on potions early on before they get too far. A lot of these NPCs are interactable. Some of the ones, like some of the guards, they don't have any speech, but part of the game is, or part of the game mechanics is that when you're close to an NPC that has dialogue, it pulls up a UI option, so it notifies the player that you can talk to this person. Whereas the ones that don't have anything to say, there's no such option. And then the ones that are particular to the story development, I've marked with asterisks, or also players or characters that give an optional path or something along that. Up until this point, I've marked with asterisks. So asterisks is kind of something that tells the player that, hey, this isn't necessarily something that's needed, but you may want to talk to this person. They may let you know something that you may need to know or may want to know. But then the characters with the exclamation marks are the ones that you have to talk with. So over here, there's a bunch of people that you can talk with. Only one that really adds to the story, the development of the character that the player is playing as. The rest kind of just reiterate, like, oh, hey, this has happened, this is the rumors I've been hearing. Anyways, once you get over to the city, you start seeing more of these NPCs with kind of titles attached to them. As you get into town more, you actually see the dead mayor, and as soon as you get close enough to him, he kind of vanishes, going back to the whole fact that he's died, he's still haunting you. That's still kind of a looming threat going into the future. You can talk to the captain, who kind of informs everyone that they should be careful due to recent incidents, referring back to the orc attack, as well as missing persons that have been happening in town here. And once you proceed further, there is the dungeon guard up here, and he pretty much denies you access to the dungeon, saying that you need to join a guild to be granted access to the dungeon, and he tells you that there's 4 within the city district that you're in, and suggests that you start with the Amazon Guild. So when the player comes back down here, this door is then activated so they can go through it. See a couple Amazons out here. The sign actually states that it's the Amazon Guild, if you click on it, or Guild of Amazons. And so the player knows that this is the spot where they need to go. And that will take them inside the guild hall for the Amazons, where then the player must talk to the guild leader. Pretty much all of the guild leaders throughout this kind of deny you access into their guild. Two reasons being, one, you seem young, you seem very weak and inexperienced. They don't want to have to deal with training another person at the moment. Also, everybody's really kind of nervous or jittery around unfamiliar faces due to the recent attacks and disappearances of people. So everybody's just real hesitant. So you go through and you talk to each of the guilds in their guilds halls, and they pretty much reject you all pretty much in the same way. Two of them actually kind of give you a challenge where the Guild of Lords here, is this building with all of the logic nodes on top of it. And when you go and talk to their leader, he says you look pretty weak, but he'll give you a fair test. And he pretty much summons an enemy, this strong knight right here. And pretty much you just do one-on-one combat. And when you defeat him, he states, congratulations, you beat him, but also takes note that you're sloppy, you're not the most skillful of fighters. So he denies you access into the guild simply for your lack of skill, and suggests that you try the Rogue Guild across the street, but also warns you that they're a rough bunch. When you go and try to gain access to the Rogue Guild, pretty much they jump you. All the NPCs in the guild hall turn into or are replaced with enemies, and the enemies all attack the player. Once the player fends them all off, which they're fairly easy enemies to fight off, the guild leader tells him that, alright, you're tougher than you look, why don't you go out behind the Guild of Lords to meet him and he'll test you. In actuality, he's just setting you up to kill and rob you. So when you go and meet him there, he's surprised that you actually showed up, and then you have to fight through 7 waves of enemies, starting out with easy knights, and then going to regular knights, and then waves of melee enemies and archers coming in from the two and only exits, where the player cannot take the third route because it's simply blocked off by props. So the player has to fight their way through, and once they go through all the enemies, the guild leader ends up actually dying, and then there's one enemy left, and he pretty much surrenders to the player and says that there is another group that's looking to start a guild, and that they have been recruiting from the pub, which the player has access to immediately upon entering the town. However, the person that they need to talk to isn't there until they go through all the process of speaking with all the guilds and trying their different tests and challenges. So once you do all that, you can go to the pub, and when you do go to the pub, if the player does earlier on, they have access to more potion chests, so they can stock up a little bit more if they need it. But once they've gone and talked to all the guilds and done everything that they need to there, this NPC shows up called Guardian Dez. You speak with it, and they say that they're looking to recruit a couple more people. They need one more before they can officially become a guild. If you're interested, go to the rundown building behind the pub, and they'd be happy to allow you to join, especially since you took out a guild all by yourself. They also state that the blacksmith across the street wants to thank you for taking care of the guild. He's been the guild's been kind of killing off all his customers. So you go over there, and that is kind of the level's loot room. Just a couple chests. There aren't a lot of enemies, there aren't a lot of bosses in this, in comparison to some of the other levels that I've created, simply because this is kind of the wind down from the campaign. The dust is kind of settling, you've reached the city, didn't want to make it too chaotic or too difficult for the fights. So there's not as much loot available through the game's loot engine, where once again it's based off how many enemies and bosses you kill. simply because I don't have as difficult of enemies or as difficult or as many bosses. You simply don't get as rewarded, um, but it's due to that simple wind down from difficult and challenging campaign. You've gone through 4 incrementally more challenging levels, and this is kind of the wind down from that. So anyways, you go here, he rewards you. You don't have to, it's completely optional, but once you go back here, the door is opened up to the new guild hall, and you find out that the person in the pub is actually the guild leader. And then you get to meet the other guild members and talk with them. Um, they're one of the few characters that actually have names, because going forward, uh, the player is going to create bonds and close ties to them. Um, and then, pretty much once you talk to the guild leader once again, she um, shows her appreciation once again for you joining the guild and becoming that 5th person that they needed. She's also very happy that she has someone like you who's taken out a guild. She sees your talent and your real potential, and she just welcomes you to the guild and suggests that you get to know the other members. And then the player can go down here and effectively end the level by reaching the bunk room. Aside from that, that's about it for this level. A lot of it was really set design, making this city block. I wanted to make it symmetrical and yet still easy to kind of tell differences between the different guild halls. And I, once again, feel like I really accomplished that in the design. I was able to complete the city block. I actually used a lot less resources, which, granted, for this engine isn't saying a whole lot. It was just over 500 resources that I didn't use, but I was able to optimize this level a little bit more by making it a little bit smaller and condensed, a lot more on top of each other, but still having kind of the exploration and advancement in story and gameplay that kind of is a part of the end of a campaign. Where this game doesn't necessarily have cinematics as much, so this is kind of the wind down that I wanted to incorporate with it to finish it off on a good note, and set it up for any potential future campaigns. But once again, that's really about it. This level wasn't too big, didn't have too many optional paths. It was more just straight to the point. But yeah, once again, I would like to thank everybody for watching these videos. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them, address them either in the comments or in a future video. I do, once again, have 2 other videos per level. One, it's just the simple gameplay, and the other is the time-lapse of me making these levels from start to finish. I'm making sure that I'm putting them all in playlists, so it's easy for you guys to kind of watch those at your leisure, and kind of see how these levels were really created and how the gameplay really turns out in the end. Because that's what it ultimately comes down to, is how enjoyable is the gameplay. So once again, I'm going to be tying these levels into a single campaign, and it will be up on Fight the Dragon. So if you want to play these levels, feel free to search for it, download it, and try it out for yourself. If you have feedback, I'd love to hear it. But yeah, once again, just thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.